In the future, a big problem happens in Europe. People don't have what they need to live. Some governments fall down. A very strict government takes control. They decide to solve the problem by killing people. First, they kill old people. Then they target pregnant women and kids. But some countries like Ireland, Iceland, and Norway don't agree with this and fight against the strict government. Many people run away to these countries to be safe. Among them are Nico and his wife Mia, who is going to have a baby soon. One night, someone helps them get to the harbor. They run through the containers to hide. They see a dog in their way. So they go a different way and try to hide from helicopters. They hear police catching some people, but they manage to get past them and find another person to help them. They have to give away their wedding rings because they don't have enough money. They get into a truck with other women and kids who are also running away, even with a dog. Mia is worried because she hasn't felt the baby move for a while. Nico teaches Mia where to find a special spot on the truck where the baby's foot always kicks. He also gives her a Snickers bar as a little treat they can enjoy when they reach Ireland. Later, someone drills a hole in the truck to let in some light. Mia feels guilty because they had to leave their first child behind, but Nico reminds her that the soldiers took her away, so she's probably not alive. The truck stops to pick up more refugees, and it gets too crowded. The smuggler decides to split the group, with women and children staying in one truck and men going in another. Nico tries to explain that he and his wife were already in this truck, but nobody listens and he's taken away. Mia watches him go through a hole in the truck and uses her phone to stay in touch. Nico reassures Mia that they're going in the same direction and will reunite later. Mia needs to save her phone battery and watch their belongings. As they travel, Mia sees violence everywhere. Soldiers killing protesters and women being taken away like animals. Sometime later, the truck stops when they arrive at a checkpoint, and all the women rush to hide at the back. The driver presents papers to show he's transporting cargo, but the soldiers open the truck to check anyway. At first sight, they only see a few boxes because the refugees are hiding behind a fake wall. However, the leader is suspicious and sends one of his men inside, asking him to go as far as possible and shoot at the side wall. The guy does so, and by seeing the difference in distance, the leader can tell there's a hidden compartment. So he goes inside with a bunch of his soldiers and asks the women to come out. Fearing the worst, Mia climbs on top of the crates right before one of the women opens the fake wall. The leader immediately kills her, and the other soldiers open fire to murder the whole group while Mia is splattered with their blood. By the end, the only ones standing are the dog and a little kid. The dog gets to run away, but the soldiers make sure to kill the kid too. After they're gone, Mia cries and sends her husband a message, telling him to hide. A few hours later, the truck makes it to another harbor and the container is moved to be taken away on a ship. Mia tries calling Nico, but he doesn't pick up, so she just leaves another message saying the ship is taking her away. Then she checks the things in her bag and turns on a light before falling asleep. Sometime later, Mia wakes up when the container starts to shake. Through the holes left by the bullets, she can see the sailors running around because a fierce storm is trashing the ship. Mia begins yelling for help as the shaking makes her roll all over the place, getting hurt until a sudden landing knocks her out. Moments later, Mia wakes up and discovers water is getting into the container through the holes. When she looks outside, she discovers the ship sank, and now all the containers, including hers, are floating in the middle of the sea. She starts panicking and tries to call Nico, but her phone got smashed and it doesn't work. Then she tries an extra phone she brought in her bag, but she doesn't know the password to make it work. After checking that the baby is fine, Mia notices water keeps getting into the container, so she begins opening the crates to find something she can use. Unfortunately, they only have stuff like plastic containers, televisions, alcohol, and earbuds. She also finds a bunch of hoodies and puts one on. After looking around, she begins picking up all the things that fell from her bag, including some tape and a Swiss Army knife. After putting tape on the holes to slow the water down, Mia finds her diary and finds comfort in a picture of her family. Suddenly she hears some screaming and looks through the hole to notice a container slowly sinking with people inside. A desperate Mia begins screaming Nico's name and puts her SIM card in the working phone, but Nico won't pick up and the container sinks, so Mia has a breakdown. For the next few hours, Mia keeps trying the phone to no avail. By the time night falls, she grabs the knife because she's thinking of ending things, but suddenly she feels the baby move. Mia decides to live for the baby and goes to sleep while hearing the whales singing outside. Moments later, Mia notices a hanging crate shaking and moves out of the way right before it falls. However, this causes water to start filling the container at great speed, and Mia thinks she's about to drown only to suddenly wake up and realize it was just a nightmare. She discovers the tape came off and the water is getting worse. So she pushes a crate under the hanging one and releases it with her knife, only to find even more plastic containers. At first she's frustrated, but they give her an idea. She removes the rubber from the lids and uses it to cover the lower holes. Then she takes a hose from a machine in one of the many crates and puts it into another hole to take out the water through it. She also moves 2 crates against the wall so she has a place to lie down, and marks the water levels with more tape, counting down the days until it reaches the limit. After trying the phone again to no avail, Mia puts up some wires from the earbuds and hangs the photographs from her diary so they can dry. Then she checks her supplies, making sure to ration her water bottles and her food correctly. She also discovers that the drill and lighter that were dropped by other people are still working. Suddenly her phone gets a call from an unknown number, and Mia answers to find out it's Nico. He couldn't answer before because his battery died, and he's alive because the other driver had scammed them. Instead of taking them to the harbor, he abandoned the group outside the city. Mia tells him what happened to her, and Nico promises he'll rescue her. But for now, she must continue to save the battery and to survive for their child. Suddenly Mia feels a contraction and begs the baby to wait a little longer. She takes a bite of her sandwich and moves the crates around, but boredom soon takes over. She notices a storm is coming and feels another contraction, so she hopes it's a false alarm. Moments later, she turns out to be wrong. The storm comes to shake the container around and the baby is really coming. Mia screams in pain as the water begins getting inside the container again, and her phone rings, but it slips from her hand when she tries to answer. With no other choice, Mia takes off her dress and hangs on the crate's ropes as she stands up and gives birth to the baby in the water. The umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck, but Mia quickly takes it off and pats the baby's back until she cries. Then Mia climbs on top of a crate and hangs onto the child, waiting for the storm to pass. The next morning, Mia feels the placenta coming out of her body and puts it away in a plastic container. Afterward, she tidies up the place as much as she can and puts the baby in a small box with a hoodie while she checks her things. She eats a bit of food from a can, but the phone took water damage and isn't working. To make matters worse, the baby won't stop crying and Mia tries to breastfeed her. When Mia hears the sound of the container's metal squeaking, she gets an idea. She uses the drill and starts making holes in the ceiling, hoping to cut a square that will let her out. However, the noise makes the baby cry harder. She tries to calm her down, but not even singing works and Mia snaps, yelling at the poor child. At least, when she realizes what she did, she quickly apologizes. Moments later, Mia feels her chest reacting and tries with the baby again. This time milk comes out and the child finally feeds. When the exhaustion finally kicks in, Mia can't stop herself from finishing all the food she has. Then she goes back to drilling the ceiling, but unfortunately the drill runs out of battery before she can finish. Next, she puts the SIM card back into the original phone, but she still can't make it work. Frustration finally gets to her, and she begins throwing around all her things in fury. When she finds the knife, she tries to use it on the holes in the ceiling to finish the job, but this begins hurting her hands. As time passes, Mia doesn't have anything else to do but take care of the baby, occasionally wetting the child's skin to help her with the heat. When she tries to sleep, it's really hard because her stomach keeps growling over the lack of food. In the end, desperation wins over, and Mia decides to eat her own placenta. Suddenly, she hears the whales outside again, and when she looks out, the whale hits the container, causing the baby to cry again. Mia responds by hitting the container walls, scaring the whale again. The next morning, Mia tries with the knife and the holes again, only for the knife to break. The phone is still not working, and Mia has to drink the last of the clean water. Feeling dizzy because of the heat, Mia picks some seawater and throws it on her head. Then she begins licking water drops from the ceiling. Unfortunately, this makes her sick after a few minutes. The dizziness just gets worse with time, and Mia suddenly sees a paper plane landing on her legs. At that moment, her first daughter appears, blaming her mother for her death at the hands of the soldiers. Mia cries as Nico appears next to her too, reminding her it wasn't her fault. When Mia wakes up from this dream, she's feeling better because it's finally raining and water is falling through the holes. Mia makes sure to drink some water and collect as much as she can in the plastic containers. She also grabs the can, but when the lid breaks, she gets an idea. The rope from the crates is put through the holes in the ceiling, and Mia starts pulling down until she finally gets to open a hole that allows the sunlight inside. Afterward, Mia climbs on top of the container and confirms there's no land in sight. She and the baby sleep up there to get fresh air, and when it's time to change the baby, Mia throws the dirty hoodie into the water. This attracts the attention of a bunch of fish, so Mia rushes to grab some rope and a piece of metal to try fishing. No matter how much she tries though, she can't hit a single fish. After she gives up, she suddenly notices a plane flying by and immediately rushes into the container to break a television, getting a piece of its screen. Then she climbs back out, but in her hurry, she accidentally hurts her leg. Ignoring the pain for now, she uses the screen piece to reflect the sunlight, but the plane doesn't see her and goes away. A disappointed Mia returns inside the container and uses some wires and small metal pieces to stitch her wound. It's a very painful process, so she tries to make it easier with alcohol. Afterward, she sees the hundreds of earbuds and gets another idea. With the wires, she begins making a net. Once it's done, she throws it in the sea with a dirty cloth and finally gets to trap some fish, which she immediately eats raw. For the following days, Mia works hard on her survival. She keeps removing the water from the container using the hose, and she keeps fishing successfully with the net, putting away lots of fish in the plastic containers. She also takes paper sheets from her diary to write a bunch of SOS notes and puts them inside containers as well, which she throws into the sea with the hope somebody will find them. One afternoon, Mia shows the baby all the pictures of the family and decides to name the child Noah after her grandmother, which is the name Nico wanted. She also shows her a picture of her sister, sharing the story of how the soldiers took her and how she still blames herself for it. Later in the evening, Mia notices Noah's getting cold, so she uses some alcohol and a lighter to start a fire. In the middle of the night, Mia hears something hitting the wall and comes out to discover it's just a plastic container. At that moment, her phone begins ringing and she's delighted to hear Nico's voice. But unfortunately, he has bad news. He tried to steal a boat, but he was seen by the soldiers and got shot. Right now he's hiding, but he's slowly bleeding out and he doesn't have much time left. Nico's called to say goodbye and make Mia promise she'll survive, so Mia puts the phone next to Noah so he can talk to her and hear her cute little noises. After Mia and Nico tell each other, "I love you," her battery dies and the wind puts out the fire as she cries. It's then revealed that Mia still has the Snickers bar, which she's saving for the end of her journey as promised. On day 26, Mia is about to lose it. There are drawings and angry words written on paper stuck all over the walls of a big box. It's almost full of water, so Mia and her baby now live on top of it. Mia is using the wood from the box, some plastic boxes and rope to make a raft. Suddenly, a bird called a seagull lands on the box to take some of the fish Mia caught. This makes Mia feel hopeful because it means they might be close to land. Later, when it gets dark, Mia starts a new fire and gets a big piece of cloth ready to catch the wind for her raft. Suddenly, she hears a noise coming from inside the box. She realizes it's going to sink soon. Mia jumps in quickly to save all her pictures. She also sees a chocolate bar called Snickers inside a plastic box, so she takes a risk and goes further inside to grab it. As the water pushes the raft away with Noah on it, Mia's foot gets caught in some rope. She struggles to free herself while trying not to drown. With a piece of metal, she manages to cut the rope and swims out of the box just before it sinks completely. When Mia gets to the surface, she's scared because she can't see Noah. At that time, a bit of time passes and splashes some water, hitting Noah and making her cry. Now Mia can hear where the sound is coming from and finds her daughter. The next morning while they float, Mia opens a plastic box and throws out some fish to attract birds. Soon, many seagulls fly above them, catching the attention of a nearby boat. The boat heads towards them and rescues the small raft, finding Noah safe inside. There's a rope attached to the raft and the sailors pull it, bringing Mia's body out of the water. They start CPR and after many tries, Mia wakes up. They give her the baby and call for help on the radio. Mia realizes she's safe and sees they're approaching Ireland, where she can start a new life. The movie is called Nowhere. Please support me by subscribing